Now, of course, we're gonna get into the meat of everything. The Trayvon Martin situation, with the 17-year-old young gentleman who was fatally shot a couple weeks ago, and as Marcus J advised, it happened 3 weeks ago, and now nationally is blowing up. We spoke a little bit about it last week. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about it. I have listened to the 911 tapes. I was kind of appalled about what the gentleman who shot him said on the 911 tapes. With that being said, if you have not listened to them, it's not horrible, but as far as like what's going on, but it can be very shocking as far as to see people still talk the way they talk. I'll let Marcus J go a little bit more in depth with it. I have my own opinion of the whole situation, but I think we're going to take it down piece by piece, starting at the beginning with the young gentleman actually walking through the gated community. Now, I'm just going to be devil's advocate, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Why was he walking through a gated community? I understand it might have been a shorter passageway. And one, not that we may know, is this the first time he's ever walked through this community?
All right, let me pick up there. He was walking through the gated community because he was there visiting his father. He lived out of town down in Miami. Sanford is a suburb of Orlando. So he belonged there. Basically, He was home.
Gotcha.
The home of your father is the home of you, whether you live there, custodially or not. But that doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter. The fact that, and like you said, we'll break it down chronologically. Chronologically, you had this young man who went to the store halftime of the basketball game or the end of the game, whatever it was. He's on his way back. Some of the things that have come out since we spoke on this last year. He was on telephone with his girlfriend, who he had spent the entire day with on the telephone, which might explain some of his bobbing and weaving and kind of walking around acting a little crazy. He was kicking it with his girl, on the phone. We hear Zimmerman on the tape, and I did listen to the 911 tape, and Zimmerman seemed to have slurred speech. He seemed to target this man. He profiled, in my opinion, this man specifically based on some of the things that he said. This ain't my opinion. This is based on some of the things like they always get away. Who the hell is they?
Yep.
The black male. He's wearing baggy pants and a hoodie. Okay, well, name me a 17-year-old boy, black, white, or indifferent, that doesn't wear baggy pants and a hoodie.
Correct.
This also Zimmerman fellow has called 911 46 times since January of 2011. There's also reports that Mr. Zimmerman was overzealous in his pursuit, not just in this case, but in cases prior, that he had been overzealous. 28-year-old. I also heard some reports that he flamed out in a law enforcement career. That's unconfirmed, but I did hear that. That may have something to do with why he took the neighborhood watch position probably a little bit more seriously than he should. Now, my personal opinion, and we can get into this and open this up for the floor. We got about 10 minutes that we're going to dedicate to this subject before we shut down the show and do our closings and our rants. So you want to get in, call us up, make your comments really short, and we'll put you on 804-726-3430. I am calling this a hate crime.
Okay.
I call this a hate crime specifically not on the surface of just hearing the story, but on the surface of hearing the 911 tapes.
Okay.
Because along with him saying they always get away and things like that, hey, look, that night might not necessarily be a hate crime. But he called Trayvon Martin an effing coon.
Yes, he did.
Now, we know that a coon is a derogatory term for a black person.
Yep.
It's not a common term in 2012. It's not a word that we hear often, but it's absolutely, if someone looked me in the face and called me a coon or called Big Rube a coon or the same about Carlton Banks, they're going to have a problem on their hands.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with regards to Mr. Zimmerman. So, and we also know that a lot of those 46 calls were made, and they were unsubstantiated calls that were made to profile black males. So there's a history here.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it took the cops 10 minutes to get there, because they're probably like, oh, just another 911 call. The guy's crazy. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, I got issues with the police
Now,
as well, because if a layman like Big Rube and Marcus J can listen to the 911 tape and we can hear F and Coon, you got to figure that trained investigators who didn't want to have these tapes released must have heard the same thing.
Yep.
These are the same people who declined to arrest to this moment, to this very moment. They still have not arrested this man.
Correct.
What's up with that, Carlton Banks?
The man is out there running away from the law, trying to get his defense together and everything.
Now.
He's missing. And initially, one of the reports I read said that they saw no evidence that to hold the gentleman Zimmerman, because nothing was there. They couldn't find anything. But the thing is, when you look at a young man and he's got a pack of Skittles in his damn pocket, are you serious? I mean, how are you to judge? First of all, what security guard is carrying around a gun?
Well,
he's not a security guard.
He was the neighborhood watch, which is even less than that.
Even less than that then. So why is he carrying a gun?
Well, and I'm going to get to that. This is my opinion. Now, Marcus J called it a hate crime. I'm pretty sure Carlton Banks feels the same. To be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't matter what we call it, because when it's all said and done, from what the truth has been kind of coming out and gathered is, dude, 7:15, saw a black male walking down the street. He was on a 911 call. He said place been getting broken, yada yada, whatever lie he chooses to use. Now, I don't know if that's the truth or not, but it is what it is. If I'm correct, there's a particular law in Florida that he's hiding behind that is called I can't think of it right now.
I know the law. I can't think of the name of it. But basically, if you feel, the gist of it is, if you feel threatened,
correct,
then you are allowed to use force. But here's the thing with that, Big Rube. Also on the 911 tape, when the dispatcher asked him if he was pursuing, he was explicitly told not to.
Correct.
Which effectively makes him the aggressor.
Exactly.
Correct. And that's what I was about to get into.
And the fact that Mr. Martin began to run was directly given to him. That advice was given to him by his girlfriend that he talked to. If you listen to the attorney for the family, Mr. Crump, who has interviewed this young lady, she's the one that told him to run because he felt that it was wrong for him to even be followed. And to keep him from even being involved in any drama or any craziness, she said just run away and go home. And another reason why he may have been running, it was raining. It was raining.
Yeah,
that's why he had a hoodie,
which is the reason why he had a hoodie on to begin with. It was downright murder, basically. I don't see how a 280-pound man can't subdue a 140-pound boy with a bag of Skittles.
And I'm about to get into that too.
I mean, really. I mean, there's no reason why, if you felt like you were threatened, if you felt like this person was in a place that he had no business in, and for the record, I think that's BS. I almost put something in the tip jar. That's BS. But let's just give him the devil's advocate just for the purpose of my argument here. If that's how you feel, you're a 280-pound man, you can't take care of a kid that's half your size. Have you seen the photographs of young Mr. Martin?
Yep.
He was slight.
Dude, he looked like he was a wet paper bag.
He was slight. He was a small boy. And
Correct.
Mr. Zimmerman, if he chose to, he could have physically handled him if he wanted to. He went out and he murdered this boy. Period. There was no weapon. There was a bag of Skittles and there was an iced tea. I don't understand what the problem is. Really,
Now,
I don't.
Now,
I understand that law that you spoke of, Big Rube.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
I understand that law, and we know that's the law that he's hiding behind. But at the end of the day, why do you shoot instead of having a discussion first?
Well,
why do you shoot an unarmed person?
Well, I have more questions than that, because pretty much as we continue, Mr. Martin, the suspect, Mr. Martin started running. Now, from what I read, and I could be completely wrong, but from what I read, Mr. Zimmerman got into his vehicle and followed. Now, yes, he had been told not to do so. 2, okay, if you get in your vehicle and you follow, which means that you have intent to pursue and intent to investigate, then that law becomes null and void, because that's a defensive law, not an offensive law.
Right. We're getting a note from one of our Facebook listeners in Atlanta. She's letting us know that the law is called the Stand Your Ground law.
Yes, thank you.
The Stand Your Ground law. Thank you, Atlanta.
Yes. So basically, the situation is, he went down there. Somebody saw them wrestling in the ground. Now, I'm not a dummy. If I am packing a weapon, first thing, I'm not trying to get close to this dude. If I want to detain him, hey, don't go nowhere. I'm not going to be in a wrestling match with this dude, regardless of how young he is, small he is, whatever, because that doesn't look like a defensive move.
Right.
It's an offensive move. If you engage him, then you offensively go after him. Now, you can sit here and say, well, he attacked me. Hold on, man. I ain't stupid, and I'm older than 12. But if somebody run at me and I have a gun, I think if I pull out my gun, that dude's gonna stop.
Exactly.
We got
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. So I mean, once again, the law does not help him because it is not defensive. It basically, this dude has fled his home because I think, personal opinion, I think the police officers thought this was just gonna die.
Well, the U.S. Justice Department has gotten involved. But my thing is this: where are my people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton? Where are they at right now?
Well, I mean, before we even go there, because you know how I feel about the Reverend,
and that's why I said
you know how I feel about the Reverend. The Reverend was on this before it broke nationally.
Yes.
The family contacted him, and Reverend Al never gets into something unless he's contacted by the family. And a lot of times people have a misnomer about the Reverend, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm one of his biggest supporters. And he was on it. And his pressure is a large part of the reason why it has gone to the Justice Department. Not an ambulance chaser. This is somebody who gets into a situation when he's asked to, and he stays into it until the end. And they're having a rally in Sanford at the family church on Thursday to discuss it. And you'll have Reverend Al, and you'll have Joe Madison and others there discussing it. So we're gonna leave it there. I got one comment that I want to throw out. We got a Jersey City police officer, a friend of mine who's listening to us, who says Zimmerman would have been arrested immediately. Absolutely agrees with the general sentiments that we have here on the show. So good stuff. Thank everybody for listening to the Fishbowl. We have to leave it there. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and get into the closings and the rants and leave it there. Ain't no half step, and Marcus J will be back in a few.
We love our religion, our culture, our God.